What's really inside the Great Pyramid? The Great Pyramid of Giza is one of the most famous structures ever built. And yet, even after more than 4,500 years, it still feels less like a solved monument and more like a mystery frozen in stone. Because despite centuries of research, scanning, and exploration, we still don't fully understand what lies inside it or why it was designed the way it was. From the outside, the pyramid looks almost simple, like a massive mountain of stone blocks stacked with incredible precision, perfectly aligned to the cardinal directions. But the moment you step inside, that sense of simplicity disappears and is replaced by emptiness, silence, and unanswered questions. Unlike many later Egyptian tombs, the Great Pyramid contains no wall carvings, no colorful murals, and no hieroglyphs explaining its purpose, which is strange when you consider that it was supposedly built for a king powerful enough to command an entire civilization. The entrance most people use today is not the original one, because the true entrance was hidden higher up in the stone, carefully designed to blend in, suggesting that whoever built it did not intend for easy access or frequent visitors. Once inside, a narrow, descending passage leads deep underground, and this tunnel feels intentionally uncomfortable, steep, dark, and claustrophobic, forcing anyone who walks through it to slow down and bend forward, almost as if the structure itself is controlling the journey. At the bottom of this passage lies an unfinished underground chamber, a rough space with uneven floors and incomplete walls, giving the impression that construction suddenly stopped, and no one knows for certain why this chamber exists or what it was meant to represent. Halfway back up, another passage branches off and begins to rise, redirecting the journey from the depths of the earth toward the heart of the pyramid. This leads to the so-called Queen's Chamber, although historians agree that no queen was ever buried there, making the name misleading. Inside this chamber are two narrow shafts extending from the walls, too small for a person and not leading outside, leaving researchers divided over whether they were symbolic pathways for the soul or part of a system we no longer understand. Continuing upward, the structure opens into the Grand Gallery, one of the most impressive interior spaces ever built in the ancient world. Tall, steep, and remarkably precise, with walls that rise inward as the ceiling climbs higher above you. The scale of this gallery feels excessive, especially since it does not clearly function as a room or storage space, raising the question of why so much effort was put into creating something that seems unnecessary. At the end of the Grand Gallery lies the King's Chamber, where a single granite sarcophagus sits alone, empty, undecorated, and missing its lid, with no mummy, no treasure, and no clear evidence that it was ever used as a burial at all. Above this chamber are hidden relieving spaces designed to distribute the enormous weight of the pyramid, proving that the builders had advanced knowledge of engineering, which only deepens the mystery of why the chamber itself feels so deliberately empty. For a long time, historians believed that these known chambers were all there was, but modern scanning technology has revealed something unexpected: a massive hidden void located above the Grand Gallery, measuring at least 30 meters in length and representing the largest internal structure discovered inside the pyramid in over a century. No one knows what this space is because it has never been entered, and it could be a structural feature, a sealed chamber, or something entirely different. So what was the Great Pyramid really built for? And why does its interior feel so controlled, minimal, and intentionally mysterious? Some believe it was simply a tomb. Others argue it was symbolic, a bridge between Earth and the stars. But the truth is that the Great Pyramid refuses to give us a single clear answer, and maybe that is exactly why it continues to fascinate us, standing silently in the desert as a reminder that some ancient questions are still waiting to be answered. Even today, with satellites in orbit, supercomputers running simulations, and scientists using technology the pyramid's builders could never have imagined, we are still left with more questions than answers, and that alone should make us pause and rethink how advanced the ancient world truly was. It's easy to assume that people thousands of years ago worked blindly, or relied on trial and error. But the Great Pyramid suggests something very different, a level of planning and precision that feels deliberate, calculated, and deeply intentional. What makes this even more unsettling is that the pyramid was not built in isolation, because it sits at the center of a much larger complex, surrounded by smaller pyramids, causeways, temples, and carefully arranged structures that all seem to follow a unified design. This suggests that the Great Pyramid was part of a broader vision rather than a standalone project, and whatever its true purpose was, it likely extended beyond a single chamber or a single king. Some researchers believe the pyramid was designed to represent creation itself, a physical model of the ancient Egyptian understanding of the universe, where the journey through its passages symbolized the soul's transformation after death. Others believe the interior layout was meant to guide consciousness rather than a physical body, with each chamber representing a different stage of transition, moving from darkness to light, from earth to sky. There are also more practical theories that attempt to explain the pyramid as a marvel of engineering rather than a spiritual machine, suggesting that its internal voids and chambers were designed to manage weight, pressure, and stability on an unprecedented scale. But even these explanations fail to account for the emotional experience of being inside the pyramid, because those who have walked its corridors often describe a strange sense of stillness, as if the structure itself absorbs sound, time, and motion. The silence inside the Great Pyramid is not ordinary silence. It feels heavy, controlled, almost intentional. And when you combine that with the absence of decoration and the precision of the stonework, it creates the feeling that you are standing inside something that was never meant to be comforting. This was not a place designed for the living, nor was it designed to be understood at a glance. And then there is the question of what we still haven't found, because the discovery of the hidden void reminds us that the pyramid is not fully mapped, not fully explored, and not fully revealed. If such a massive space could remain hidden for so long, it raises the possibility that there are other features still waiting to be discovered, sealed away behind stone and time. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the Great Pyramid is not what we know about it, but what it refuses to tell us. Because unlike modern buildings that serve clear and obvious purposes, this structure exists in a grey area between monument, machine, and symbol. It challenges our assumptions about progress, intelligence, and history, forcing us to admit that ancient people may have understood the world in ways we no longer recognize. Standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, it becomes clear that it is not just a relic of the past, but a mirror reflecting our own limitations, reminding us that knowledge can be lost as easily as it is gained. And maybe that is the pyramid's greatest power, not as a tomb or a temple, but as a question that has survived thousands of years without ever demanding a final answer. So the next time you see an image of the Great Pyramid rising from the desert, remember that beneath those stones lies more than empty chambers and hidden voids. There lies a story that humanity is still trying to understand. A story written in silence, precision, and mystery, waiting patiently for us to catch up. If you enjoyed exploring the secrets of the Great Pyramid with me, make sure to like this video, because it really helps the channel grow. And if you're curious about more ancient mysteries, unexplained structures, and forgotten history, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss what's coming next.